O sing unto the Lord a new song. Sing unto the Lord all the earth. Sing unto the Lord, bless his name. Show forth his salvation from day to day. Declare his glory among the heathen, his wonders among all people. For the Lord is great and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. Honor and majesty are before him. Strength and beauty are in his sanctuary.
The splendor of the King, clothed in majesty, let all the earth rejoice, let all the earth rejoice. He wraps himself in light, and darkness tries to hide, and trembles at his voice, and trembles at his voice. How great is our God! Sing with me, how great is our God! And all will see how great is our God. Age to age he stands, and time is in his hands, beginning and the end, beginning and the end. The Godhead three in one, Father, Spirit, Son, the Lion and the Lamb, the Lion and the Lamb. How great is our God! Sing with me, how great is our God! And all will see how great is our God. Name above all names, worthy of all praise, and my heart will sing how great is our God. Everybody sing, how great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God, and all will see how great is our God. How great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God, and all will see how great is our God.
Our reading is from Revelation chapter 21, starting at verse 3. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Now the dwelling of God is with men, and he will live with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. He who was seated on the throne said, I am making everything new. Then he said, Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true. He said to me, It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To him who is thirsty I will give to drink without cost from the spring of the water of life. He who overcomes will inherit all this, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. But the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral, those who practice magic arts, the idolaters and all liars, Their place will be in the fiery lake of burning sulphur. This is the second death. One of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls full of the 7 last plagues came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb." And he carried me away in the Spirit to a mountain great and high, and showed me the holy city, Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God. It shone with the glory of God. We're back in lockdown again, and today we're reflecting back to something we looked at church on the last Sunday of 2020. It was when we looked back over a year which was mostly a pandemic and looked ahead to a new year which was also going to be dominated, at least to start with, by a pandemic as well, and so it has proved. We took as our text Revelation 21 and verse 9. One of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls full of the 7 last plagues came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb." Thinking about the angel helps us to look back over this pandemic, which we are still in the middle of as I speak. And thinking about the bidding of the angel, the call of the angel to come away, helps us to think about the future. The angel is very interesting and given a very long introduction in this verse. Remember what it says? One of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls full of the 7 last plagues came and spoke to me and said to me. The angel's description is very detailed and it's full of 7s. The most important thing about the book of Revelation is to perhaps understand this, that it is history looked at from God's perspective. And when I say history, I do not just mean the past. Of course, I mean the future as well. We know something of what history looks like to us. We know what a year of pandemic looks like. But what does it look like from heaven? The 7s are important. This angel has been one of 7, involved with 7 bowls and 7 last plagues. The number 7, as you may know, is a number that symbolizes completeness, or if you will, perfection. The 7 days of the week, for example. The 7 days of the week based on God's 7 days of creation. The number 7 indicates that what this angel has been involved in has been complete. The numbers that we read each day, these numbers seem to be completely random to us. Will they go up? Will they go down? We know that the Prime Minister and leaders throughout the world are scratching their heads and rubbing their chins and wondering what the numbers mean for tomorrow. But these numbers are very complete. 7, 7, 7. So the first thing to understand from heaven's point of view is that plagues and pestilences, disasters and difficulties, we could look through Revelation and see those as well, are not random things. They are part of a complete history, a story that God, who is described in one of the earlier verses that we read in our Bible reading as the Alpha and the Omega, the A and the Z, the beginning and the end. For God, the random events of our lives and of human life are part of an order that brings a final destination. So the 7s remind us that what is to us random and out of control is in God's plan. This is emphasized by the bowls or the vials. Now, I heard in the news this week about vials. It was describing the delivery of the vials of vaccine. A vial is a very specific measurement. It is exactly how much someone needs for a dose. The bowls, the vials that these angels held were measuring vessels. They were there so that there was not too much and not too little. The random plagues that wipe out random numbers of people and situations, when looked at from heaven's point of view, have an order to them. However uncomfortable it makes us feel, the story is that God is sovereign. And history is where God's sovereignty works out. The things that happen in our world are not beyond his measurement. And this comes most dramatically with a very simple little word, the 7 last plagues. In May 2020, the UK government drew up a plan. It's a very impressive plan, and it's the plan of how to rebuild after COVID-19. Here's a graph from the plan. There is a 3-stage improvement, and what is to happen in each of those stages is set out in some detail in the plan for recovery from COVID-19. Here is the graph for today. Unfortunately, the 3-stage recovery has fallen foul of what has actually happened. Now, I don't say that to criticise the government, because we are all in the same boat here. We have just cancelled one of our visiting speakers for perhaps the 3rd, or was it the 4th time, as we speculated as to when things would be easier and better. And so whereas we have previously had 2 last lockdowns, there'll be no more lockdown after the first one, there was going to be no more lockdown after the second one, we're now in the 3rd one, after which there will be no more lockdowns. As we wait to see whether this is the last lockdown, we figure that we do not know so much. But God is able to say this is the last of the plagues. And this angel reminds us in wonderful ways that our random problems, which are way beyond our understanding and control, seen from the point of view of heaven, they are in God's plan and control. We say again that God is not the author of evil, but nor is he knocked out by it, or thwarted by it, or confused by it, but God is on the throne. This same angel who has been involved in all of this stuff on earth in the vision of Revelation does a bidding. He says to John, come away and see. And as we set out a couple of weeks ago into the new year, we figured that we always do this at the end of a year, even a year like last year. We look back and we look ahead. So the angel that has been around for the last plague says, come away and look at the bride, the wife of the Lamb. It's a wonderful vision. It's a bride. A bride is very near to a wedding. You cannot really describe yourself as a bride or a bridegroom when you've been married for decades. And when you don't yet have a husband or a wife in the offing to marry, you cannot yet describe yourself as a bride or a bridegroom. But here God's people are a bride. John, who was in a form of isolation on the Isle of Patmos, cut off from the church and the churches, is given this vision of God's people on the very threshold of being forever with their Lord, wedded to him in a new order where there is no pain or death. And the church is the bride of Christ. The people of God through the ages are the bride of Christ. We are one event away from being forever with the Lord. We don't have to find a bridegroom because he is waiting for us. And we do not have to wait forever because when Jesus returns, we will be his for always. And what a comforting thought in a pandemic to know that there will come a last plague and there will be a wedding. It is a marvellous consolation. It is an amazing comfort. What is also remarkable is the bridegroom, the wife of the Lamb. The reason why we have something to look forward to even in pandemical times is because Jesus is the Lamb. He is the one who was slain for us. He is the one, as the simple old hymn puts it, who was good enough to pay the price of sin. He only could unlock the gate of heaven and let us in. And it is because Jesus died, because he is the Lamb who has taken our uncleanness, unfitness, our sin away, that we are able to look through all the affairs of this world and all its trials and its cryings and its miseries and its uncertainties. And we are able to glow with the prospect that we will be forever with our Saviour. We are the bride of someone who has made us fit for himself. He has cleaned us up. He has dressed us in the robes of his purity. He is an amazing bridegroom for what is an amazing but previously very imperfect bride. Come away, says the angel, and see. That's not an accident. You look at the church, you look at our church, which is closed and frankly looking rather defeated by the pandemic. But we have a ring on our finger. We are in reality a bride, and we have the most amazing bridegroom. But we can only see that by coming away. In the text of Revelation, the angel calls John away to a high mountain. You've got to come quite a long way away from the pandemic. You've got to move quite a long way from being in the middle of London and its activity. You've got to move away in your spirit to be able to look at things from God's point of view. And that's what the angel does for John on his island. And he invites you and me to do it as 2021 gets underway, as the third lockdown gets underway. Let's come away with the angel and look at what is really true and what is really coming. And that will help us to feel better as we plough our way through the lockdowns. May God bless you in this year.